gonna see boys using the language of black folk caught in a dark, caught in an American cave-like condition, caught trying to gain access to a reality, but unable to distinguish between the shadow of things and the things themselves. It does not get more foundational than the descent into the underworld, the descent into the underworld.
Listen, listen, now listen!
Dealing never bad like this, babe. Some things we just cannot erase. Always thinking we make the change. So we are the same from the same place. Memories right here in lane. I say we can share the same lane. Came from the past, we can aim it now.
Can I bother you to sign this copy of Bread and Roses? My favorite poem.
Your first name again is?
Will.
Brother Will, W-I-L-L.
We were in D.C. at the Palestinian march, and Dr. Cornel West was there, and he was like speaking, and people were mesmerized. They were like, "Who's this man? Who's this man?" And I knew who he was, and they knew who he was. And it was like thousands. It was a million. It was actually a million people there. It was one of the biggest marches in history for 1,000 people. And that's when they said to them, "This man needs to run for president."
Plato himself, this was a poetry but quite poetic himself. Famous analogy of the cave, caught in a dark.
I feel so blessed up here tonight to welcome our beloved Dr. Cornel West.
Make some noise!
And the reason that we're here tonight is to help get Dr. West and Dr. Melina Abdullah on the ballot in New York. Yes.
All right, my name is Madeline Peru. This is John Harrington. We wrote 3 songs, among others, 3 songs that for me were inspired very much by the words of Dr. Cornel West. And I never heard a campaign that uses the words truth, justice, and love, so there's really nothing better for me than to be here with you, and I thank you for the honor and the privilege. Oh, let's go down to the bayou to find true love. Listen to the blues and the gospel of Jesus. Feel the summer sunshine in the southern breezes. Hear the little babies whimper and cry. Make a little promise, learn how to die. Oh, let's go on to the levee, find true love. Listen to the brass bands do the second line. Pick a little guitar and spill a little wine. Hear the little babies whimper and cry. Make a little promise, learn how to die. Oh, I promise to be open, to feel the joy and pain. The only way to make a life is to fail and try again. So let's go on to the hilltop, find true love. Oh, listen to the seasons from above the tree line. Pick a little fresh corn, spill a little moonshine. Hear the little babies whimper and cry. Make a little promise, learn how to die. Listen to the blues and the gospel of Jesus. Feel the summer sunshine and the southern breezes. Hear the little babies whimper and cry. Make a little promise. Make a little promise. Make a little promise and learn how to die. I wouldn't really be up here if it weren't for Dr. Cornel West. Over the last 4 years, it's kept me alive, listening to the words and being part of that type of fellowship, just knowing it's there. Let's walk. Let's roll. Let us advance our mortal bodies up where hearts and minds will go. Let's lead and behold, yes, progress within the peaceful test of power, growing as we go. You reap what you sow, yes. We keep our deepest love at hand, and never shall we let it go. Let's walk. Let's roll. You are the people of my heart and soul. I want the world to know you are the people of my heart and soul. I want the world to know. Let's walk. Let's roll. In step we bless togetherness from far and wide, from heel to toe, and we'll see, yeah, yes, and we'll know. We climbed that mountainside where seeds were planted, oh, so long ago. It's deep down below. With feet and hands aligned, we stand for love. Yes, love is what we show. Let's walk. Let's roll. You are the people of my heart and soul. I want the world to know you are the people of my heart and soul. I want the world to know. Let's walk. Let's roll. People of my heart, people of my heart and soul. I'm gonna bless togetherness. Come on, everybody. Yes, let's walk, let's walk, let's walk. Let's walk together. Let's roll, let's roll.
I come to this movement by way of Dr. West because Dr. West is a representation in his praxis, in his actual real life work. It matches up with his scholarship. It matches up with his political ideology. And I think that's really significant to note. There's so many ways in which we see candidates who give us lip service. And they don't necessarily align with their words. Their actions don't meet their words. But through the years, through the decades, we've seen Cornel West on the front line for various movements, standing for the least of these. Yeah, that's really, really important. Because the people that we choose to lead us, it's important that they practice what they preach. We want people to represent our values. And for me, Dr. Cornel West represents the values that I believe in, for a more just world, for a liberated society. That's right. Dr. West said, justice is what love looks like in public. He also said, raise your voice, don't be an echo. And it's important, it's imperative in this crucial moment that we raise our voice, that we stand up for our values, that we raise our voice, that we cast our ballot for the people that we believe in to lead us. So I'm encouraging each and one of you to do the work, to do the messy, grueling, grunt work of standing for what you believe in, for fighting for your values, for getting behind a movement of truth, justice, and love.
Hi, my name is Curbins, and I've been a part of this campaign for a couple of months now. First of all, I want to thank everybody for turning out. I am so impressed with how many of you guys have been dedicated these past couple of months and how many of you guys are here right now. So give it up for yourselves, first of all. Thank you. And you know, I just want to say a few things. First of all, I am part of, you know, a couple of different minority communities, right? I'm Black, I'm part of the LGBT community, and there's a lot of different candidates that we've had over the years who pretended to care about us. A lot of us here know how many times we've had people say that, oh, we're gonna do this for you, oh, we're gonna do that for you, but right now in this race, there's only one person who's genuinely been fighting for our communities this whole time, and that's been Dr. West. You know, he has been here. He has been here genuinely standing up for us and for what empowers us as a people this whole time. When there's other politicians that are out to divide us, he's here to unify us. So we're here for unity, we're here for justice and peace, but most of all, we're here because we love one another as human beings. So let's spread the love. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me here, brother. As you know, when you called me, I had to. It's only right. You showed up for my union, so it's only right that I return the favor. So thank you again. So, let me get right to business because I don't have a lot of time, and I know we all don't have a lot of time because time is running out. You know the definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over and getting the same results, right? And for many of decades, we've been promised and given a lot of things, but not really. We've been given a lot of breadcrumbs, a lot of Band-Aids, a lot of temporary fixes, a lot of lies, a lot of propaganda, right? A lot of divisiveness, a lot of misinformation. And at some point in time, we realized, damn, they've been feeding us a lot of bullshit out here. And I realized that 4 years ago when I was fired from Amazon. And the richest man in the world, Jeff Bezos, who's making $13 billion a day, $9 million an hour, almost $5,000 a second, spoke up about me, little old me from Staten Island, New York, who stood up for COVID-19. And when I look at these politicians, a lot of them, who y'all know, will show up to your rallies, show up to your events, show up and take the photo ops, tweet about it, share it on Instagram, do all of that fun stuff. but don't put nothing in black and white and legislative that's gonna help us as a people have a better quality of life. And I realized that there ain't no cavalry coming for us. Let me tell you, I met your President Joe Biden. And let me tell you how that conversation went. I don't remember it. Yeah, I know. It's funny, but it's really not. Because this man is running the presidency. He's running the country. I don't really know who's making decisions in there, but I can tell you one thing for sure. When I left that White House that day, I felt empty. I felt like there's no hope. We gotta do this ourselves. And that was 2 years ago, y'all. So as I sit here today and stand with y'all today, I'm gonna let you know, we need a president that's gonna represent the people. We need a president that's gonna show up every time, not just one time. We need a president that's gonna stand on business and represent, when I mean the people, the black and brown people that are always forgotten, the ones that are afraid to speak up, the ones that look like me. So what I'm saying is here today, make the right decision. Vote for somebody that you know will sit and stand with the people. Vote for somebody you know that has the policies that represent what you want in life. And most importantly, don't go insane and do the same thing. Because we already know those resorts on both sides of the aisle. It's a two-party system, and we need a third-party option. And Cornel West represents everything about that. Hey, listen, y'all. We're running out of time, and we really, really, really got to think about our future, our younger generation, our kids, our children. Our children should never have to fight as hard as we're doing right now. So I see a lot of Kafias in the crowd. You know what I'm saying? We got to stand up for Palestinian people. We got to stand up for the people of Congo. We got to stand up for the people of Haiti. We got to stand up for the people of Cuba, Africa, everywhere. And most importantly, we got to stand up for ourselves, because the revolution starts with ourselves. There's no amount of money in the world can amount to the power of people when we come together. I've proven that against Amazon. We're going to continue to fight, because y'all already know when we fight back, we what? When we fight back, we what? When we fight back? When we fight back? When we fight back? Every damn time. Power to the people. Love and solidarity, y'all.
I was going to give a long speech, but I decided to cut it short and share a personal anecdote between myself and Dr. West. He was teaching at Union Theological Seminary. This was maybe about 8 years ago, and I went to sit in on his class. You know, I live in Harlem. I lived here for most of my life. And we were having a conversation about the people who are gifted with melanin, who are written out of church history. And one of these individuals was a black pope named Galasius. And our conversation, I always remember it, was about how his theory was that you should never combine church and state, not because of the reasons that we've been told, because it will lead to the church one day corrupting the state. That's what we're always told. The church will corrupt the state if you combine them. But the conversation that me and Dr. West had was about Galasius' teachings, and he said, no, it'll happen the other way around. That's what happens when you combine church and state. It's the word of God that gets polluted by the politics of filth and conspiracy and sponsoring genocides and murder and every other thing that we let people get away with, that claim every day that they believe in God and get on the screen, on television and on the internet and propagate themselves as people of the book. We have 3 people right now that are running for office that I can look at. Mr. Trump, Mr. Biden and Dr. West, and each one of them claims to be a Christian. One of them is a con artist that can't name a single Bible passage. The other one is another con man and a genocide supporter. And then we have a person here, a man of integrity, who isn't afraid to call a genocide, isn't afraid to tell the system it's corrupt to its face. So you have to ask yourself honestly, if Jesus was here, who would he vote for? Who would he say is propagating his message correctly? So you know me, some of you know me, I rap about all kinds of stuff. You didn't expect me to come here and talk about God and religion, but I have to let you know, ladies and gentlemen, that we're manipulated every day by people who preach piety. And they sponsor the most horrific things behind closed doors. The horrors that we've seen in Gaza, that happened in Iraq and Afghanistan. There just wasn't social media like that back in 2001, 2006. And we didn't have the opportunity as a nation to be as disgusted and revulsed as everybody else. And we appreciate your voice, Dr. West, and we appreciate your courage and your leadership, because everybody else has left us out in the cold, and you stand there singularly, unafraid, unbowed, unbroken. And from the bottom of my heart, brother, we appreciate you. Thank you. My name is Immortal Technique, Harlem, New York. I appreciate all of you. Thank you very much. God bless all of you. Please get home safe today.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm often asked why I'm supporting Dr. Cornel West. And this is as useful an occasion as any to clarify my opinion on the subject. The people, what's been bequeathed to this younger generation is just grossly unfair. And there needs desperately to be people in public life who are articulating and are indignant at the unfairness of our system. And in my opinion, that is Dr. West. He articulates with remarkable eloquence, and he expresses his indignance at what this system has done to the new generations. Number two, there is the argument that's made, and one has to take it seriously. There is the argument that's made that a vote for Dr. West is a vote for fascism, it's a vote for Trump, the two being synonymous. I do recognize there is a difference between Biden and Trump in that regard. However, even though a triumph of Biden will not in itself and immediately usher in a catastrophe as in fascism, the fact of the matter is, and I think I agree with Dr. West, that even if that's not the immediate consequence of a Biden victory, it's simply going to be slowing a process, namely the fascist prospect. It will be slowing a process, but the process will still be underway. And I think the evidence is in that President Biden, should he be reelected, will not be a significant bulwark against or obstacle to the rise of a fascist movement in our country. That's not theoretical, because in the past 2 months, we personally witnessed the most fantastic assault on academic freedom and freedom of speech on our college campuses, not seen since the early 20th century, when there was the workers' movements and the robber gangs were the working movements and the Robert Barons wanted to get some professors, it was just a handful. One fellow named Edward Ross, another fellow named Scott Neary, wanted to get them fired. Now, there has not been, since that time, an assault coming from the private sector and then compounded by the Republican right, an assault on academic freedom and free speech. Now, what did Biden do? You have to ask yourself, if you're truly concerned about the prospect of fascism in our country, what did Biden do? He didn't do anything. He went along with the claim that these campus demonstrations were anti-Semitic. He used every occasion to denounce anti-Semitism. He didn't do anything to block or present an obstacle to this fantastic assault on freedom of speech. So I simply don't believe that if and when, and it will happen, here again I agree with Dr. West, this fascist movement will gain more and more momentum as people's lives are futureless. I don't believe we will present an obstacle to that. And then the third reason is very simple. You can say horrible things about Mr. Trump. Mr. West, Dr. West, in my opinion, calls him a gangster, and that is the fact. But of the main existential issues facing our society at this moment, just at this moment, I recognize climate change, I recognize other things, that at this moment, the main threat is now coming, existential threat, is coming from the prospect of a terminal nuclear war. And on that front, honest people have to concede that President Biden and his administration have been a catastrophe. Ukraine, Gaza, Iran, and China, these are terminal events waiting to happen, and President Biden is accelerating the move towards a terminal event waiting to happen. What Trump will do, I acknowledge, I can't predict. So it's a classic case of the fear of the known versus the fear of the unknown. But there's no doubt in my mind that on that particular front, namely the threat of nuclear war, he's a disaster. The administration is a disaster. One last thing, and then it's Dr. West's night. I attended graduate school at the same time as Dr. West. I did not know him. When he started to achieve stardom, which I would say roughly in the 1990s, when he joined what was called at the time the Harvard Dream Team, I frankly admit I was very skeptical and suspicious, because I don't believe people get into those dizzying heights of power without having accumulated a large number of skeletons in their closet. However, and there is a however, recently I did a very long interview with Dr. West, and in preparation for it, I sat down and I started to read books that he's written on his recommendation. And I have to say, his range of knowledge, but not just the range, it's the depth. A lot of people, we have an expression in English, you say many individuals, they're a mile wide but an inch deep. Well, you know what? Dr. West is a mild line and a mild deep. He does know the details. I was watching the other night his Guilford lectures, and he's hurling out one name, the second name, the third name, and the fourth name, and quoting this passage. I said, okay, I give up. I give up. I'm not, my ego is now so shattered and so battered that there's no ego left to even complain or be envious. He is a real class act. When he got those degrees, he clearly earned those degrees from hard work. So, I do believe, with the possible exception of Theodore Roosevelt, should he become president, he would be the most learned president in our American history. It's very impressive. I won't speak to his political track record, but because people already know that. But the bottom line is, it's not a tough choice for me this year, and probably any other year, except the Bernie years, but Dr. West is on board with Bernie. It's not a tough decision for me to say, Dr. Cornel West for president.
Give it up for Professor Norman Finkelstein, who I watch all the time on Bad Faith on YouTube, so it's an honor. If y'all don't mind, I want to take a selfie. What do we want? When do we want it? Now. If we don't get it, shut it down. Make some noise for yourselves. It's an honor and a privilege to be here. I come here by way of my mother, Camille DeJourna, my father, Stephen Reed, my great uncle, Ewart Grenier, and my mom's first cousin, Lonnie Grenier. And it was in my first semester at Union Theological Seminary where Dr. West informed me that he knew my great uncle, Ewart Grenier, that he protested with my uncle, Ewart Grenier, while at Harvard. That gave me confidence to go through the path of academia and to raise my voice and to not be an echo. And it is because of Dr. West that I have the strength, that I have the confidence to stand on this stage and speak to you powerfully right now with all the faith and all the confidence and all the hope that I know that Dr. West is a person that we can put our faith in. So I think you know what time it is. When I say Cornel, you say West. Cornel. 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 Louder. Cornel. West. 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 Make some noise. Man, this is what love looks like in public. So, Dr. West, it's an honor, it's a privilege, it's a dream come true to honor you. So, without any further ado, the great, the honorable, the genius, Dr. Cornel West.
Yes. Oh, you all have been so patient. I salute each and every one of you. Give yourselves a hand. We're here in Harlem. Indeed. When I got here, I had no idea I would see my dear brother Charles Barron. Charles Barron is a great legend in the history of struggle of not just black people, but oppressed people all around the world. And his organization was the first organization to endorse this campaign. This is Charles Barron, Inez Barron. They go hand in hand. We met 415 Atlantic Avenue in House of Lord Pentecostal Church, Reverend Herbert Daltrey of the National Black United Front. And I want him to say hello and a word before I proceed. Brother, I love you, man.
I love you too, Dr. Cornel. Well, let's give Dr. Cornel a big hand clap. This is my brother for 44 years. So I bring you greetings from the People's Republic of Brooklyn, where Operation Power has taken over. We are the governors of Brooklyn. We've got hundreds and hundreds of signatures for Dr. Cornel West, and we're focusing on, let's give our champions a real big hand clap. You know, every campaign has to have a Black Power advocate, and that's me. Say Black Power. Black Power. Say Black Power like you mean it. Brothers and sisters, the black vote will no longer be taken for granted. Nobody has any votes right now. So you can't take votes from anybody because they don't have any votes now. Everybody has to earn our vote. And we will determine who should be the ones that earn our vote. The brother was talking about fascism. For black people, fascism started when the country started. For black people, when we resisted enslavement, fascism suppressed it. For black people today, Biden's fascism has arrested and indicted the Uhuru 3 for saying they don't want to support Ukraine. Fascism is when they resist. All resistance movements are violently suppressed. The Black Panther Party, which I was a part of, suffered fascism from COINTELPRO, the counterintelligence program of the FBI. So when we talk about fascism, it didn't start with Trump, just like the war on the Palestinian people didn't start October 7th, 2024, and 2023. So when did that start? Well, we can go back, but brothers and sisters, I came here to support Dr. Cornel West. And you know, someone asked me, well, Charles, do you think he could win? I said, we already won. By running, we won. We will define what victory is. And the reason why we're tight with Dr. Cornel West's campaign, because when this campaign is over for the presidency, we're going to continue to get people elected to the city council, to the state assemblies, to the state senates across this country. We already won because we define victory. Dr. Cornel West is all yours. I just wanted to come up, and I'm also known as Mr. Inez Barron. That is my wife, and she's in charge of things. So on behalf of Inez, and y'all listen to our program on WBAI. It's called Speaking Truth to Power. Dr. Cornel West, it's all yours. We love you, brother.
Oh, I love you, though, brother. Lord. Indeed. Oh, yes, I'm just so very blessed to be here. And you can tell that even though it is getting late, it's still early because our hearts are still full of fire. I want to begin by thanking those who have worked so very hard to go out to get those signatures, and I'm looking at them right now. You've been working so hard, I know you have, and you have an impact in a mighty way. And all of the various artists that we heard from, I don't have all the names, but you see, I come from a people whose anthem is lift every voice, not lift every echo. And we didn't hear any echoes here, it's expressions of silos. We heard voices of people who have dig deep into the dark corners of their own soul and come to terms with their wounds and bruises and scars and transfigure them in such a way that they say and do and make a sound that touch our souls so that we leave here more fortified. That's the tradition that this campaign is all about. And it's no accident that we are here where we are. We in here in Harlem, USA. And I met my dear sister outside when I came in. She tears flowing down her face. She said, oh, they're taking over my neighborhood. This gentrification is just flowing every which way. What we gonna do? I said, my dear sister, you know we come from a folk who straighten our backs up no matter what the situation is and tell the truth and seek justice. And acknowledged, this is Marcus Messiah Garvey Park. And this is the same Garvey who said in 1916, just still in his 20s, after founding the UNIA in Jamaica in his mid-20s. He said, the world has made being black a crime. I intend to make it a virtue. Yes, that's a critique of a vicious legacy of white supremacy. And that legacy grounded in predatory capitalist processes that make their moves in stealing land from other peoples and committing genocide in those peoples on that land in the New World. We haven't got to Gaza yet. That's genocide here. And then brings working people from all around the world and subjugates them and exploits them no matter what color they are, because the priority is profit, 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 rather than satisfying the basic needs of those Sly Stone called everyday people. And then the vicious forms of patriarchy that lose sight of the rich humanity of the majority of humankind who are our sisters of different colors and countries. The ugly forms of homophobia and transphobia. So that a genius who grew up just around the corner named James Baldwin, the son of Harlem, a genius who would transform the essay from Montaigne all the way through Emerson, all the way through an Edmund Wilson, and say, yes, I'm going to dip this genre, this essay, into the doings and sufferings of black people in such a way that it's going to have a rhythm and a polyrhythm and a syncopation and a sophistication and a gut bucket funk that the world has never seen on the page. That's where we are, Harlem. Give it up for Harlem! Give it up for Harlem! Give it up for Garvey! Give it up for James Baldwin! Lorraine Hansberry, office right across the street. This place is consecrated even before we got here for many, many generations of struggle. In this campaign, I don't even call it my campaign. I happen to be a public face of the campaign, but I'm nothing but a little small wave in a great ocean of a great people, of a great tradition of struggle. That in the face of overwhelming hatred for 450 years, we keep dishing out love warriors every generation, and that's why we call the love warriors. That's not just a phrase, that's not just a name. That's the spirit of Emmett Till's mama when she looked on her baby in Roberts Temple Church of God in Christ in August of 1955 in Chicago. And the whole world cast a light on Brother Emmett, 14 years old, killed by cowardly terrorist white supremacists in Mississippi. And dropped his body in the Tallahatchie River. They had to scoop it up. When she stepped to that lectern with tears in her eyes, what did she say to the world? She said, I don't have a minute to hate. I will pursue justice for the rest of my life. What goes into the shaping and molding of that kind of moral and spiritual greatness where you intend always to fight, always to swing, always to be resilient, always to resist, but do it in the name of a love and justice that begins on your side of town, in your family, your neighborhood, your tradition, but embraces oppressed people all around the world. That's the tradition that I come from. And I intend to be faithful unto death. I don't care how popular or unpopular, I don't care what name you call me, anti-Semitic, anti-American, whatever the name is, I'll learn and I'll listen, I'll critically filter it, and then I'll look and say, Harriet Tubman, what do you have to say? Frederick Douglass, what do you have to say? Martin King, what do you have to say? Malcolm, what do you have to say? Ella Baker, what do you have to say? Fannie Lou Hamer, what do you have to say? And I ain't even got to the vanilla side of the struggle. And I know my dear brother Norman, who has such a deep love relationship with the one and only Paul Rose. And give it up for Paul Rose. Brother Paul, W.B. Du Bois, what do you have to say? Benjamin Elijah Mays, what do you have to say? Noam Chomsky, Edward Said, what do you have to say? Can we put a smile on your face to muster the courage to tell the truth? So this campaign is nothing but a moment in a movement. It's the spillover of the love warriors. It's the spillover of the freedom fighters in the face of the terrorism that my brother Charles Barron was talking about. It's the spillover of the joy shares in the face of sorrow that Aretha Franklin's and Luther Vandross said. The main ingredient grew up right around the corner. Donald McPherson died at 22 years old, and here come Cuba Gooding Sr. Brother Jim Farrows know what I'm talking about. Sharing that joy in the face of overwhelming sorrow. Wounded healers in the face of unbelievable trauma. That's what this campaign is about. And in so many ways, it's an attempt to reintroduce the country to the best of itself. That if you want to understand the best of the country, you're going to have to be in contact with folk who choose integrity, honesty, decency, generosity, unbelievable courage, cutting against the grain in the world but not of the world, looking for something bigger than them, beyond their narcissism, beyond their hedonism, beyond the rapacious individualism, creating solidarity, creating community, and doing it in such a way that you still had a smile on your face and a little style in your walk. My dear sister Madeline knows what I'm talking about. Oh, yes, she does. Spending all that time with Brother Danny Fitzgerald. Oh, you know what I'm talking about. The Lost Wandering Blues and Jazz Group. You and Vanilla Sister rooted with the chocolate ones because it's human all the way down. But we have to be able to be honest enough to come to terms with the forms of hatred coming at us. And in order to deal with this present moment, this is a moment in which the American empire is imploding with forms of spiritual decay and moral decadence. There's been 70 empires since the emergence of the species in Africa. United States is number 68. Every empire comes, every empire goes, and oftentimes it has to do with military outreach, just like the United States, $62 for every one discretionary dollar going to the military. 800 military units around the world, 130 special operations around the world. Why? Because those in Washington believe in a full spectrum dominance. We must dominate every corner, every nook and cranny of the world. That's not just an imperial empire, it's an imperial policy. And every empire will collapse. And we are witnessing that implosion, that decay, that decadence, when the organized greed so intimately connected to the institutionalized hatred. So you get to routinize indifference toward the suffering of others. The great Rabbi Heschel used to say, indifference to evil is more insidious than evil itself. And so much of our culture was an attempt to create structures of feeling and value such that people are indifferent to those who are suffering. That's why there hasn't been a stress on poverty since Martin Luther King Jr. was shot down like a dog in Memphis when he talked about poverty, white supremacy, militarism, and materialism being the four factors that would bring the American empire to an end. That's Brother Martin, 39 years old in Memphis. And here we are now, well, 50-some years later, dealing with the blowbacks. Malcolm X used to speak right around the corner here on 125th and 7th. He would say, chickens come home to roost. Chickens come home to roost. And what does chickens coming home to roost mean? It's the blowback that comes when you deny. But America is unique among all empires because America views itself as innocent. Ottoman Empire, the Roman Empire. No empire in the history of the world has viewed itself as innocent. James Baldwin used to say, innocence itself is a crime. Because the authorizers of devastation who view themselves as innocent never want to take responsibility. That's precisely why, in the midst of poverty, worker subordination, vicious forms of white supremacy, decrepit schools, inadequate housing, or sometimes no housing available at all with escalating unhousedness and homelessness. No serious focus on it. No responsibility, no accountability as the greed intensifies at the top. 1% of the population, 90% of the wealth they have. 3 individuals in the country have wealth equivalent to 160 million fellow citizens. 50% of the country have wealth equivalent to 3 persons. Now, if that's not spiritually sick and morally decadent, I don't know what is. But where is the collective fight back? Where is the collective fight back? And what is distinctive about Gaza, very much like what happened in the 80s with the apartheid regime in South Africa, very much like Vietnam in the 60s, we rip the veil off and you discover how the lies have been hiding the crimes. All the talk about liberty and democracy, we see criminality, bestiality, and barbarity. All the talk about international law and human rights, can't say a mumbling word about defending 15,000 children murdered in a matter of months. No other litmus test could be more clear than what we see. And that's why this moment is in so many ways unprecedented. They say we're so polarized, yes, we're gangsterized, yes. There are certain lies that are becoming so unbelievably difficult to deny. The innocence is being revealed to be itself a lie. So Biden says it's not a genocide. He's been a genocide enabler, now he's a genocide denier. That makes him a war criminal. Because he himself is not just enabling, it would not take place if he were not providing that kind of military and financial support. Oh, that sounds so harsh. I'm not hating on the brother, I'm just telling the truth. And it has much to do with us, because it's not just him. It's Harris, it's Kirby, it's Sullivan, it's Greenfield, it's Austin, it's the Democratic Party across the board, the Republican Party across the board. Where are the churches? Where are the synagogues? Where are the mosques? Well, the mosque has been much better than many other religious institutions indeed. But this level of not just conformity and complacency, but outright cowardliness in the face of not just war crimes and crimes against humanity, but the crime of genocide. If you can't meet that test, then it's clear that we don't have any moral fiber in our political class. That all of them, for the most part, too many of them for the most part, are so willing to be preoccupied with the next election and who's voting for X or Y than the precious people who themselves are being crushed every day before our very eyes. And Biden himself, when he said in Detroit the other day, he probably had a black person writing a speech for him, but he said, well, what would America have done if they were black folk who broke into the U.S. Capitol January 6th? And of course, black folk raised that question the same day we saw it. Would have been massive attack, massive assault. Because white supremacy is still operating. But then we come right back to Biden and say, what would you do if 40,000 white brothers and sisters were being murdered in the name of a genocide by Arabs or Muslims or Africans or black people? We know the tragic answer to that question. There would be such immediate solidarity with those white folk who are undergoing such genocidal assault. So there's a white supremacist dimension of what is going on in Gaza that we must be explicit about, because it goes hand in hand with the ways in which white supremacy is operating in the United States. The double standards, the overwhelming hypocrisy. And there's no accident that Biden talks about it not being a genocide, because those international courts could be on their way to his house. Just like it should have been on the way to Nixon's house. A whole host of other presidents and political elites. And this is not a matter of moral purity. It's a matter of pointing out overwhelming hypocrisy if you actually have a deep concern about precious people, no matter who they are. In this case, precious Palestinian men, women, and children, disproportionately women and children who are being murdered daily. And if America can't meet that litmus test, you can rest be assured you can never depend on any politician in regard to any issue of justice, be it at home or any other part of the world. And that needs to be said over and over and over again, and it's going to be shocking. I go through airports. I was just in Scotland yesterday, as my brother mentioned, just made it back and went to the reparations conference in Washington, D.C., and spoke last night and was there. My dear brother, how you doing? Good to see you there, man. God bless you. Abyssinian Baptist Church represented right there. My dear brother Calvin Bucks, who we love. Passed. But he run into me in the airport. They say, Brother West, I don't know why you just always so full of indignation. Why are you mad all the time? You got all of this rage inside of you. Won't you just settle back and, I guess, have a little cognac or something? What's the problem? And I said, no, you see, I was raised and reared a certain way. Tell the truth. The condition of truth is to allow suffering to speak. Pursues justice. Because justice is what love looks like in public, and tenderness is what love feels like in private. You attempt to be a loving and a tender person. And I come from a rich tradition of a black people and a black tradition who have always connected toughness with tenderness. That's why Otis Redding can sing, try a little tenderness one minute and get funky the next. Because they go hand in hand if you are a love warrior. A love warrior. And people say, oh, Brother West, love has no role in politics whatsoever. What's all this talk about tenderness and sweetness and gentleness? I said, no, I'm going to be true to my tradition, and I come from a soulful people, and soul ain't nothing but the sharing of a soothing sweetness against the backdrop of grim catastrophe. There's nothing wrong with sharing sweetness in a movement tough about truth and committed to justice. And so when the country has to make a choice between a bona fide gangster, we got our little precious one here with her stick, a bona fide gangster like Trump, and the choice between war criminal, genocide denier, genocide enabler, Biden, what are we going to do? Well, I come from a people in 1837, Henry Highland Garnett brought together the first gathering of free black people. It was in Philadelphia. And he said, black people, let us never confuse our situation with that of the Israelites of Hebrew scripture. For black people, Pharaoh is on both sides of the bloody Red Sea. Brother Kevin, you know what I'm talking about, brother. how you gonna deal with Pharaoh on both sides of the bloody Red Sea? You're gonna have to fight to make a way out of no way. People are gonna tell you you have the chance of a snowball in hell. That's what they told Sojourner Truth. She said, do you know what my last name is? It's Truth. Truth crushed the earth will rise again. No lie can live forever. No matter what is said, no matter what kinds of attacks and assaults they put on you, we will find a way out of no way. Working people found a way out of no way given the greediness of capital and the greediness of bosses. They came together, they organized, they mobilized, they were solidarity. They had solidarity not just with each other, but around the world. So I'm running for president in order to be head of the empire, in order to dismantle the American empire. I am an anti-imperialist candidate across the board. In the name of Lambe Lumumba, my dear brother who comes right out of this great community. Never forget that, brother. Always on fire as an anti-imperialist. Voices inside of oneself. And part of the afterlife of those voices has to do with the life that we live and the voices and the witnesses that we give the world. So I'm malicious about poverty, absolutely. I don't want a liberal version of dealing with poverty. We can abolish poverty. They just authorized $200 billion for F-35, 20 of them. That money could be transferred in such a way that we could wipe out poverty with basic income, with a right at human housing as a right, health care as a right, supporting the militant wing and the trade union movement to make sure that the trade union movements themselves don't become so accommodated to the bosses that they give up on making the stronger, crucial demands so that workers can live lives of decency. Dealing with the fossil fuel greed, the greed of the fossil fuel companies at the top that are inseparable to sit at the center of the ecological crisis, making it difficult to make the shift from extractive economies to regenerative ones. We can go on and on and on. But if we don't get ourselves together, if we don't get our souls together, if we don't get fortified enough, the muster, the courage to tell the truth, the courage to organize, the courage to sustain our struggle. Remembering what Martin King said when he said, I'd rather be dead than afraid. And Mary Ellen Pleasant said when she said, I'd rather be a corpse than a coward. That's what love warriors do. That's what you all have been doing. We just got North Carolina yesterday. Just got North Carolina yesterday. Oh yes, we on the move. And North Carolina means the world to me because that's John Coltrane country. That's a love supreme. That's Giant Steps. That's After the Rain country. Yes, indeed. So the question becomes, will we be fortified? Will we fight together? Will we stay together? Will we struggle together? Even if we have disagreements, we have to have a commitment deeper than the disagreements, because the focus is on the suffering of precious people to make sure that their lives are such that they can live them with decency and dignity. That's what we are about. That's what we are about. And the only way you do that is have a moral and spiritual backdrop and a moral and spiritual spine. And don't let folk divide and conquer. I tell the story all the time. People come up to me, say, Brother West, I'm so glad to be your white ally. I said, my white what? Your white ally. I said, oh, let me tell you a story. There's a brother named Jerry used to play the drums for Sly and the Family Stone. They were right here in this park in 1969, a few months after Woodstock. The Questlove just put in a film. And if you look at Sly, you saw Vanilla Brother playing the drums. And when Sly says, I want the drummer song, he didn't say, we're going to have a white ally play the drummer song. No, the white brother's in the band. He's in the band. He's not a white ally. When you're in the band, that's part of the solidarity. You already have earned your space. He hits the drummer song, and then Larry Graham hits the bass. Then Sly hits the organ. And same is true with Miles Davis, with Bill Evans. He's a white brother on the piano. You think Miles going to turn to Gil and say, we're going to have a piano solo by the white ally? No, he's a white brother in the goddamn band. When you're in the band, you've already earned the spot because you sacrifice, because you're willing to pay it all. That's what this campaign is about. Thank you all for being here. Stay strong. Stay strong. We are changing the world. We're going to continue to change the world. Nobody's going to discourage us. Nobody's going to try to beat us down. Brother Steph, thank you so much for your magnificent work, and all of you who are here. And Sister Corey, Lord have mercy, we thank God, dear sister.